Hi everyone, I'm Uncle Bill,
And I'm Jenny. Happy Easter, everyone.
and welcome to the Fear Review. Not sure if you joined us for episode 0, but that's where was kind of a welcome to the Fear Review, where we talked about our individual journey through horror, as well as us coming together with this joint venture of horror. But that all started on Easter Sunday in 2020 with the Leprechaun franchise. So we thought it would be fitting to start our first episode with the Leprechaun and Leprechaun Returns, and then in subsequent episodes we'll talk about the rest of the franchise. So
To begin, we're going to talk about Leprechaun, which came out in 1993, directed by Mark Jones.
okay, so Leprechaun starts off. Daniel O'Grady has captured the Leprechaun and brought him to America.
Just came back from Ireland.
Just came back from Ireland and has forced the Leprechaun to give him his gold. He's excited and drunk.
Thrilled.
And I believe shows up in a limousine. Wife is like, "What are you doing? We don't have any money, blah, blah, blah." So he's captured the Leprechaun. Leprechaun's in America now. And Leprechaun gets out. Shenanigans happen. 10 years later, we get the rest of our crew come in. And then the real shenanigans begin.
Yeah. The Leprechaun wreaks havoc with Daniel O'Grady and his wife. It's kind of dormant for a decade. Pops back out and raises hell again.
Bushy
Goes
tail.
crazy again. Is thrilled to be out and to cause chaos.
So to start off with, I guess, I love this movie.
Love this movie.
It's one of those cool combos of funny, but still really good horror movie. We've got good gore. The performances are great. I mean, it's got a young Jennifer Aniston. There's the guy that plays Ozzy has been in a bunch of stuff that I know from being a kid. Pee-wee's Big Adventure, I believe. He was in that.
Okay.
But a bunch of other stuff. So
Never
I
saw
recognized
that.
him. But everybody's really good in the movie. The acting's good. The directing's done really well.
Cinematography is great
Yeah,
as
there's
well.
a couple of really good shots, especially at the beginning when you're kind of following the car around. When Jennifer Aniston is arriving and they're kind of setting that up. And there's a cool shot in the basement. I believe right before Mrs. O'Grady
is murdered.
is murdered. There's a cool kind of shot going up the stairs.
From the Lep's perspective.
Yeah, that's really cool. But overall, it's just really good. It's got gore. It's got some great kills. I think that's kind of what some of the Leprechaun is known for.
It's just so funny. And it's a very self-aware movie where there's WarwickDavis, who plays Leprechaun and is incredible, does not take himself too seriously. He is ridiculous as a Leprechaun. And I think that's what makes it so enjoyable, because the kills, even the things that the Leprechaun says, any interactions with the Leprechaun are so theatrical and over the top, they're hilarious.
And I think it's because WarwickDavis just goes whole hog on it.
100%.
He full asses it. He doesn't half ass it. He full
Full
asses this
ass.
thing and completely commits. And I think that's what makes it so great is he does that. And so those comedic parts just really work.
Because you could do the Leprechaun in a way that was so silly that it was just kind of stupid, wasn't funny, or there was no sort of menacing energy to him anymore. But you can tell Warwick takes it seriously. It's not... The Leprechaun seems smart. He seems kind of cunning in what he does, but he's also hilarious. It's he's just...
playful.
It's like he's trying to be funny. He's a trickster. He's toying with them throughout the whole movie. And I don't know that anybody could have done that as well as WarwickDavis does.
And I think it was writing a very fine line, where they just hit it just right. Where because horror and comedy don't work if you don't do it right.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't.
Tucker and Dale.
Yeah, Tucker and Dale, Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
Those things where they just the right balance of horror and humor, and I think they really nailed that, which was really good. With all the rhyming.
His quotes are something that the first time that we watched that, which was obviously several years ago, I had completely forgotten about the fact that he has these incredible one-liners. So when we watched that again, overwhelmed with how hilarious some of his little lines are. They're great. I know I can't come up with them now. But there's several. It's all throughout the movie. I mean, the rhyming's a bit inconsistent. When you get to some of the later films, his one-liners sometimes get a little bit weaker.
It's like it feels like you're waiting for that rhyme at the end, and
it never comes.
No, I need your rhyme.
It's like his cadence really makes you feel like it's about to be like a haiku or something, then nothing happens.
Then nothing.
But that's not a problem in this first movie.
No.
Every single one-liner is a hit. Like, you can tell they put a lot of thought into this. Like,
because it's almost exclusively like his dialogue, right?
I want to say
at least 50% of it, I think.
I think aside from the moments where he's either explaining, like, no, I wouldn't even say that when he's discussing, like, oh no, my one coin is missing, or, well, you've got to give me back. I think he's still rhyming constantly.
I think so.
He keeps up. Like, he's very consistent. If anything, he is consistent. You can trust that he will rhyme. Trust. The leprechaun will rhyme. But aside from the sort of one-liner hits that he has, he's also consistent in picking the most adorable and incredible little vehicles out of any slasher, any villain. Can we call him a slasher?
I think.
There's so many movies of the leprechaun killing so many people.
Yeah, I mean, it feels weird saying he's a slasher, but I think he probably technically falls into that.
At least out of all the classic 80s franchises, the only one that pulls out these types of vehicle moments. They're the only Little Tykes cameos I've ever seen.
Well, and I think other than the first Halloween, where Michael Myers, drives off the lot and goes and finds Laurie Strode, I don't think any other slashers drive around.
Now that you're saying that, I can't think of any. I mean, I'm not sure we even see Jason hail a taxi when he's in New York. I'm not sure.
Maybe he tried to, and they wouldn't pick him up. But...
Jason tries to take a taxi in Manhattan. Wouldn't have been. I'm not sure. No, I think that's true. I think he's the only one. But he's also very versatile. Not only does he have to take like a little car moment, he'll get on roller skates. Talk about athleticism. He went on roller skates from the house to what is it, is it an asylum situation?
Yeah, not an asylum, but it's like a hospital or
it's some kind of
more like
an
old
folks home.
Yeah, I think like a nursing home. Yeah.
Can't tell, but he takes the skates all the way there.
Someone else drove there in a car. And he not only did that on roller skates, which
beat them there,
ends in a great Wile E. Coyote moment through the fence.
I forgot about that.
Right, and then gets out, which was just amazing. But keeps up with the car on top of that, so he
beats Jennifer Aniston there.
Yeah,
his ass is already there by the time Tori shows up. He's already gotten to the place. Put on a costume, a wig, killed a man, and gotten into position by the time Tori gets there by car.
Well, she's trying to figure out how to get in the building.
She's trying to find which room he's in. And Lep's already found O'Grady. He's already shoved him in like the ceiling tiles of an elevator. Which, how did he manage?
Yeah, throwing him down the shaft on top.
I guess that's how he would have had to, because he falls through the tiles.
I don't remember it being that big of a building that needed like an elevator with a bunch of floors, but
somehow, whether he just like sort of
huge asylum,
massive old folks home.
Yeah.
No, beat her ass there and got in costume, like quick as hell. Leprechaun could do a quick change. Even
before like the roller skating, like he steals,
he steals this Little Tykes car variation.
Little Tykes car, takes off down the road, gets pulled over by a cop who just thinks he's a person in a
kid with a mask on.
That doesn't wonder at all how this car is flying down the road in this Little Tyke thing.
No question about this Little Tyke going 65 miles an hour down the road.
Doesn't think this is propelled by leprechaun magic or anything.
Doesn't realize there's no pedals, so obviously this is Lep speed. Like, going on here.
Because even if he's Flintstoning it the whole way, like,
there's no way this little kid could go that fast.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fully convinced that it's this kid in a mask. Which, that's one of my favorite things about the Leprechaun movies, is what the bystanders in these films will mistake the Leprechaun for. Like, whether it's like, oh, it's a homeless man, or, oh, it's just this little child on Halloween. Like, there's no way you would see this leprechaun walking by and mistake it for a child.
Yeah, something other
Man's got, like, bumpy skin. He's got, like, boils, like...
a jacked face.
Oh, I know. I didn't want to say that, but man is...
But for a kid? Like...
that kid would be looking pretty road hard and put up wet.
Yeah, I wouldn't be thinking kid immediately. Yeah.
No, I wouldn't be thinking child in a car somehow speeding in this little tights. But thank God he did get pulled over, because due to that lovely cop coming to pull over this kid, just, boys will be boys in this little tights car, we get a fabulous forest chase with this cop who is, as we've discussed in past watchings of this movie, the worst performance of the film. This poor cop.
Hands down. Now, not to say that he is a horrible actor.
No.
I'm not saying that. And I think he actually does get better once he's running through the forest somehow. But, like, the initial one-on-one with him was a little like, ooh.
It's not great.
Everybody else is great, but, yeah.
The performances are so solid in this movie, really, that... Because I would say that in a... I don't know, maybe a Killer Clowns from Outer Space, that cop's performance would not have stood out the way that it did in Leprechaun.
Yeah.
But
pick him up and put him in another movie. Yeah.
Nobody would have bat an eye. But in the Leprechaun, when we've got powerhouse after powerhouse, then you get this cop. It's like, oh no.
And I think that's part of why it works so well too, is because you actually do feel for, like, Jennifer Aniston's character and, like, her dad.
You feel for Tori and Nathan.
Then the three guys who
Alex, paint. 3 guys that paint.
Which is going to be a theme, I think, through the whole series, where, like, these companies are just the pawn shops. 3 guys that paint. The car shop. Like, the casino.
Vegas tours. Like, these little Leprechaun. The Leprechaun franchise is a champion of small businesses. If not anything else. They are really fighting for these small, locally owned companies, including 3 guys that paint. I mean, you really feel for them. The first time that I watched this movie, Ozzy annoyed the crap out of me. Like, I don't know if I'm a hater. I remember
you saying
that. I found him so annoying. I think it was the fact that he's, like, this grown... In my mind, I'm like, this guy's 30. This kid's, like, what, 11? And he's babysitting this 30-year-old... in overalls? Like, what's... That dynamic was so bizarre to me. But watching it a second time, it's like, no. Poor Ozzy. Little Ozzy doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it took you so long to get there. But yeah, that's, like, kind of...
Because it's weird. Like, there is an oddness to him being... Like, the way Nathan just kind of throws Ozzy onto Alex.
I think it's because, I mean, they don't say what it is, but obviously
we need to get Alex into therapy.
Like, some mental things going on there.
What's going on?
So which is why, I guess, being the way he is, he can connect with a younger kid more than he can adults. And so obviously
I understand now. But I have an issue with the parentification of Alex that takes place throughout this entire film. I remember that I was taken aback the first time I watched it, even, like, revisiting it, he's asking for beer, he's the only one that can fix the pickup truck anytime it gets jacked up, he's the one that goes and gets a shotgun, he's, like, the only one trying to take care of Ozzy. Like, I feel for Alex. Who is taking care of Alex?
So, and I think this is one of the cool things here, that where there's a difference in our age.
Perhaps.
So I see that, and being a kid growing up, so I was 13 when this came out. So if he's like 11, like, there wasn't much of an age difference between me and Alex.
I think he's 11. I'm ballparking it.
Yeah, I mean, I
don't know how old the kid is.
Well, IMDb it here in a second. But like, I was out running around riding bikes, and, like, that's how that was back then. Whereas you're used to, like, I would say...
was much more sheltered.
I don't want to say helicopter.
I was definitely, there was a level of protection over me that was over me, my brother, and my sister. By everyone. Whole family. Everyone in my family thought I was going to die if I went outside. But even then, you weren't riding your bikes making sure that your mentally challenged 30-year-old friend was okay.
I don't know. I never had one.
You never had the chance. We don't know. Given that situation,
I might have raised him as one of my own.
You might have saved Ozzy had you had one. But I did, I felt for Ozzy more this go around. And and also, we cannot ignore the fact that this man is the entire reason that we have half of the issues throughout this movie, because he swallowed a damn coin.
Well, he let him out, right?
So, let the leprechaun out, kind of haphazardly falling through the basement, knocking off a 4-leaf clover, then lets the leprechaun out because he fully believes, without telling anybody, he's like, I think there might be a child in this crate, in this basement, and I'm going to investigate that by myself.
Which is one of his go-to moves, is acting like a child.
Leprechaun loves to do that.
I guess that's just like a built-in. Everybody's going to make sure there's not a child in this...
In this tiny suitcase thing.
/ crate.
Or this crate that's been in here that they all know has been in here for a decade, unopened.
It's got spider webs on it.
Surely there's a living, breathing child in this box, though. Then does all that, then goes to... conspires with Alex. I mean, it's not Ozzy's fault. Alex comes up with this plan to save the gold and fix Ozzy's brain. But then goes to check the gold, swallows the piece whole. Brilliant.
As one would.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I've never had to check a gold coin. I might accidentally swallow a gold coin. I can't confirm.
Checked your credit card to make sure it was good?
I've never nibbled on any of my dollar bills or whatever. I can't say I've checked for any validity of that. But
I like how you say dollar bill instead of a coin, like a quarter.
You know, I'm never gonna nibble on a quarter. And then
but you would a dollar bill.
I don't know how to check they're real, girl. I don't have the little the light. What is it they check about? They shine a light on it. Little light. Little light moment. But it's the entire reason that we have so many of these issues. The first time that I watched it, when I don't know, I was just so irritated by this 30-year-old who's being babysat by this 10, 11-year-old that is causing every problem in this movie. And he's not a great communicator either. We don't learn how much knowledge he has about leprechauns until much later on in the film. He just kind of is like, oh my god, I found a leprechaun in there. No, you didn't. It was a rat, Ozzy. Okay. I'll tell you guys about my, Lep history lesson from O'Grady later.
Well,
after you've been bear-trapped in the knee.
If they would have believed him,
This is true.
Gave him a little grace.
Gave him a little grace. He definitely wasn't validated by any of the trio.
No, and he just shuts down at that point, when he doesn't feel like he's being seen.
Okay, so at the end of the day, we just need to get Alex and Ozzy into therapy. And this whole thing could have been fixed had they had the attention and the validation that they deserved.
Yeah, well, Ozzy needed some help. Alex was fine. He's out there running around like a normal kid our age.
Alex is going through it.
He was working. He was actually painting with his brother.
Child labor. Do you think he was even being paid?
One would hope. Under the table cash,
But
officially
we saw the quality of the paint job, the logo on the side of the truck. Do we trust that they even had enough money to then pay Alex?
There did not actually seem to be much painting going on.
Is Ozzy even being paid?
Well, God bless him. I don't know if he'd know if he was or not.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure Ozzy would keep up with something like that.
He's just happy to be there.
Ozzy's just thrilled to be hanging out with Alex.
I'm just glad I have friends.
Poor Ozzy. Now that we've talked about them for 40 minutes.
But no, and I've thought about this, and I don't know if we've talked about it. I think that group, 3 men that paint, would be a brilliant cosplay at a convention.
Roll up.
In their overalls, random paint.
Just straight little square.
There's, like, everywhere.
Of a color of paint that doesn't even match what's on your paintbrush.
Yeah.
Like, you need to have red paint and then blue streaks on your arm.
Yeah, and red here, blue here, like like just all over. Like, I think that's a good concept.
Haphazard little splotches that are beautifully placed. And after having painted nothing.
One corner of a wall by a window.
Painted terribly, too.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never painted a wall, but I completely believe, like, wholeheartedly that I could have done a better job than those 3 guys that paint.
Well...
And they also had Tori in there helping.
I was going to say, Miss Aniston did not seem like she knew what she was doing, so that might have been... And
her technique seemed flawed.
And the brother there, I don't think he was focused on painting so much.
Nathan was too busy eyeballing Tori to pay attention to the paint job.
Yeah.
And it's understood. Her hair is so beautiful in this movie. I don't know if... I'm not sure if that's what Nathan was paying most attention to. But as a young woman watching Jennifer Aniston in that film, I was fascinated by her hair.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
There's no way he was like, do you use like a leave-in conditioner?
Is that Pantene? What's that?
Do you use White Rain? Is that...
It's a 10. That's what she's using. It's a 10 leave-in miracle spray.
You said that and I had no idea what it was.
Well,
I just went.
Not to say your hair is low maintenance, but I don't think there's
I use
much.
6 conditioners for this.
Now is a good a time as ever to bring up the rules, the sort of leprechaun rules that exist in the franchise. Change up a little bit, movie to movie.
Definitely.
But we have a few. First, we have the idea that he can't use his powers unless he has his gold.
Yes.
Because we have this attempt. He points one finger at Ozzy and tries to do a little magic finger moment, and then realizes that he can't.
Fizzles out.
It just... Because where's the gold? You can't...
Yeah, so once he gets out of the crate, he's like... I think he shines one of Ozzy's shoes.
Shines a single shoe.
And then goes to...
Zap him to death or something.
Lep zap him.
Lep zap.
And yeah, he's like, oh, me gold.
Shoot. That's exactly what he says. Oh, me gold.
Yeah.
Can't do anything. Nothing comes to this little magic finger. And he can teleport. I guess that doesn't count as Lep magic. He can teleport regardless of the amount of gold he has.
That's like a small amount of magic he has to use.
But in this movie, whether or not he has his gold has a lot to do with what he can and cannot do.
Yeah.
Which I can't say is a theme that exists in many of the other films, but it's very important here.
Considering maybe it's because he was without it for so long.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
He's just been separated from this gold. Yeah,
because every single movie is about someone having his gold, and he does not have that problem.
No.
He does not have the ED problems that he does
in this movie.
Yeah.
It's true. Thinking about some of the other rules that are in this movie, I'm trying to think of the other ones. Because I know there were some. Well, the shoemaker, the whole idea that he's a shoemaker and has to shine shoes whenever he sees them. I mean, there's even a moment that their whole attack against him is let's just throw a bunch of shoes on the ground in front of him, and he's so bewildered by the amount of shoes he needs to shine that he can't even attack them. And that's this whole idea that he needs to stop down and shine a shoe. That's not a repeat rule throughout the franchise either. We see that maybe 2 or 3 times, maybe.
Yeah, they definitely don't stick with that one, and they kind of like pop in and out, like kind of how that works.
Because I'm interested in whether or not, like, I know it can't be true for Leprechaun in Space or Leprechaun in the Hood. There might be some, but how much of the stuff about the Leprechaun in this movie is based on real Leprechaun lore that actually exists? Because I feel like everything they tell me in this movie about Leprechaun makes sense to me. I believe he's a shoemaker. I believe he needs his gold to use powers. I believe in all of that.
A rainbow comes along and takes Ozzy and Alex to the gold.
To the pot of gold. that's how you find the gold. I don't think that's how anybody else finds this gold, except for in this one movie.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's another rainbow.
I believe in that rule.
But I know that's a real rule. I mean, everybody knows pot of gold at the end of a rainbow.
This.
So
I don't know any child that didn't draw a rainbow with a pot of gold and a little leprechaun at the end of it.
I think those are like the main ones, right? Like,
yeah, think about this first movie, I think it's it. I just know that like in the second one, the sneeze is everything. And I want to make sure that we cover... Because they're so inconsistent.
Yeah.
And it's not... It's not fun unless you go through all of them.
Yeah.
And you point out the changes. But no, trying to think of other things that he does.
There's a callback, I say, to Nightmare on Elm Street in the movie with Tori is on the phone trying to call the police, I believe, and the leprechaun has...
oh, no, the leprechaun calls them on the phone.
Oh, and that's when he
calls them on the phone.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so there's a couple of times people are on the phone with a leprechaun in this movie, I think.
Yeah.
He drives, he talks on the phone. He's very versatile for a slasher.
Yeah. He does a lot of normal people things. And
so Tori's kind of playing the oh god.
Nancy.
All I could think was her real name, and it was Heather.
Heather.
That's all I could think of.
Heather Lingenkamp.
Yeah, so Tori's kind of playing the Nancy role here, and so instead of a tongue, though, when she's talking on the phone, a little leprechaun hand.
A little baby leprechaun hand, pops out. I think it covers her mouth.
Yeah, and I was like, that's awesome. And there's no way that's not a callback to Nightmare on Elm Street.
Obvious callback, because that little Freddy mouth scene is so iconic. You then shove a little leprechaun in. And I think he even makes a sort of romantic remark towards Tori when he says it.
I'm your leprechaun now.
Gross. It's a clear callback. And it's stuff like that I think makes the leprechaun so fun.
Yeah.
It goes back to that self-awareness. They know exactly what they're doing. All the jokes are intentional, and they're incredible. Little baby lep hand. Little baby lep hand. It looks all crunchy and stuff. You know, it's like tiny and very bony.
Yeah.
Because it's not what his real hand looks like. It's this weird, stick leprechaun hand. Yeah,
skeleton kind of like little. Yeah.
But the leprechaun not only does normal things, and, he's not only slaying with vehicles and outfits and shoe moments. He takes beating after beating in this movie. Like a champ. Like any other slasher, if not more than most of the slashers I've seen. He gets thrown, picked up and chunked.
Multiple times.
Several times. He gets shot a bunch. Full shotgun, as
straight up.
far away as I am.
Yeah. Shot
in the face. Green blood spewing out everywhere. And is unfazed every single time.
He may need a little nap, once or twice, but a very short little cat nap. And then he's back at it.
He might be unconscious for 45 seconds after you've shot him 7 times, but he'll come back. I think one of my favorite parts of this movie, I think we agree, it's both of our a favorite part, is the bear trap moment with Nathan, where he... I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. The leprechaun did they set the bear trap for the leprechaun, or did the leprechaun set that trap?
It was Alex, I believe. Remember, he was going out. I believe.
I know he sets a bear trap in the barn, after that whole situation.
Oh, yeah, you may be right.
Someone sets this bear trap, and Nathan goes out to investigate because they hear the leprechaun kind of scurrying about outside, and instead of the way a normal person would walk into a bear trap, and that would be the way they're injured by a bear trap, you walk, we've all seen it, we know how a bear trap works. He trips at this perfect point in front of the bear trap where then he falls knee and shin first, where it clamps onto the front of his leg.
Half of his leg
in this very weird way. And there's this awkward fall and kind of flailing to it.
That's another theme in the franchise that we'll touch on in each movie. But these awkward falls that are just amazing to watch, that are just
funny.
pause moments, rewind moments. Like you just gotta watch them over and over.
And I'd forgotten the bear trap moment.
Yeah, there's the one, and the second one is the one that always sticks out in my head. But yeah, this one I forgot how good that fall was in this movie too.
I had too. I completely forgot. I thought he walked into the bear trap.
Yeah.
So then when he fell into it, strangely, I was completely shocked and taken aback again.
Maybe it was after the second one, then you start looking for that fall. You know what I mean?
Pay more attention to that. But there's a lot of great moments like that. We've got sort of the moment after the dad, he's lured in by the leprechaun to shove his hand into his tree because the leprechaun's meowing. And bites the crap out of the dad's hand. And then we get this shot of, like, the shadowy leprechaun's face. Like, this hole in this tree. And it's little Warwick's face all, like, peering out.
And doesn't it look like there's, like, the hole that he's going to stick his hand in, a hole on the other side of the tree, and then the leprechaun is on that side.
Yeah, you can tell he's not in this tree. But it's great. It's great nonetheless.
Yeah.
Is it this one that we have Leprechaun in the Wall? Or is that another movie?
That's the second one.
That's
when they're running around
and they're
in
running
his tree.
through his tree.
Yeah.
In his tree.
But similar to that, though, which is another great... And one of the things that's really good and I like about the movies are these... I don't know if it's because it's, I'm not saying that it's low budget, because they have enough budget that I don't feel like I feel right calling it a low budget, but like these moments where you catch like just you kind of a peek behind the curtain, I think is the best way to do it. Like in this movie, there's a phone on the wall, like an actual landline on the from my generation will remember it's the phone in the kitchen that's got an 8-mile long cord that everybody uses. You can go to any room in the house using this phone, and it's just winds around and it goes back to the kitchen. But I believe it's Tori rips the phone off. So
right after the baby lep hand scene.
Okay, that's what it is. And so she rips the phone off the wall, and you see that this phone has just been sitting on the wall, hanging on a nail. That's it. There's no cord. It's not plugged in anywhere. It's not. Which it's silly to even think about, because there's no reason for them to plug it in. There's no, anything like that. But just seeing that, like, just hanging on a nail, that's it.
Which did not ring any alarm bells for me the first time I saw it. I had no idea how that kind of a phone worked. I didn't think anything about it hanging on a nail on the wall like a picture.
No idea.
Okay. Until you paused it, and I think you showed my grandpa and Aunt Ames.
Yeah.
And it was a spectacle to everyone who had ever used a phone like that.
And then there's another moment in the movie that I loved, and it kind of keeps coming up in different movies and stuff like that. And another reason why I think this is really great is there's the scene where the leprechaun, they're all in the truck. They're trying to get to the hospital, I think, or just trying to get away in general. It doesn't matter where they're going. He gets out of the truck. Or he gets out of the hood. First lep in the hood, officially.
First lep in the hood.
Gets out of the hood of the car after dismantling the truck, and then comes in through the windshield and starts attacking him. And they grab the cigarette lighter from the truck and then burn his face with it. And so the first time we watched this, like within like 3 or 4 seconds of that happening and falling off, I was like paused and I was like, "Do you know what that is?" And you had no idea. No idea.
Don't.
And I'm pretty sure you were kind of blown away, and we had to talk about it for a little bit. She's like, "Wait, there's a cigarette lighter built into the car."
I was gagged. Well, I feel like I had seen stuff like that. Like, I don't know why I feel like it was Goodfellas or something like that, where I saw someone light a cigarette, but I figured that was maybe something that, this, like, gangster or something had installed into his car. Yeah. Like, I didn't think the idea that just...
Like an aftermarket install.
Yeah, it's like he just souped up. Like, some people lift their truck, and some people put in like a little spot to light their cigarette. But I had no clue that was in every car. Yeah. And that might not be a young person thing. That could be like a very stupid thing that I don't know about. But
no, because cars don't have them now.
I've never seen anything like that.
It's kind of like Crystal Pepsi. I don't know when it went away, but it did. It just wasn't there one day, like so.
Couldn't it? I think I only know about Crystal Pepsi because Good Mythical Morning has talked about it. Okay, so I think that's it. And they're both, I think, 40. So
There you go. There you go.
That's all. That's the only way I know about that. We also, in this movie, because he's definitely manic and a little bit conniving, but we do have this moment where Ozzy explains to them that all they need to do to get rid of the leprechaun is to give his gold back. Like, that's all we need to do. He just wants his gold, and then he'll go. So Tori's like, okay, well, it's down in the well. Y'all stay in here. I'm going to go get it. She presents it to the leprechaun, and he's like, fabulous. That's great. That's all I wanted.
I don't know if he's just like, I've been in this crate for so long, like, I'm going to give you all a break.
He's
like,
ready.
He seemed very chill with, I've been reunited with my gold. I'm okay.
Finally, my love is back in my arms and I'm good to go. He leaves and they're fine. And we get this incredible little him. I think he's like sitting crisscross applesauce on the ground with his pot of gold, one by one counting them. But he was fully ready to drop everything and leave this whole trio, who at this point have shot him, have kicked him, have beat the crap out of him on several occasions. And he's like, look, okay, cool. Like, we're totally fine now. We're just going to call it even. If it wasn't for damn Ozzy having eaten that coin, it would have been fine. Leprechaun would have left them alone. He's a very reasonable guy in this movie. He's perfectly fine with leaving them alone.
But no, he gets to that 98, 99.
Excuse me?
They have me gold.
That's a pretty good impression. I think that when we sat and we watched all of these movies so that we could like prep to do this episode, and the same cannot be said for every film, Lep in the Hood in particular. But in this movie, despite all of the kills that we see him partake in, he really is a victim.
Well, he is a villain too, but
not just a villain. Yeah. He cannot be put in this narrow box. You can't put baby in a corner. Yeah. He's a victim in this movie. He's been kidnapped, because he's not just like brought from Ireland to America. He's brought to I want to say it's like Nebraska. Is it Nebraska? North Dakota. North Dakota sounds right.
I think you may be right. Yeah.
But he's brought to this podunk, middle of nowhere city, to this ugly trailer. Then all of his money is taken from him. He's been in this little suitcase. Then he's shoved in a crate for a decade. And he eats a bug immediately getting out of this crate because he's so hungry.
I mean, he was literally starving. Trafficked.
He was trafficked. The leprechaun was trafficked, displaced, left neglected, obscenely for 10 years. And then he gets out, and this guy, it's just a trauma response, really.
Yes.
He comes out to this strange 30-year-old man, is sitting there with dirty ass shoes on,
which is obviously a trigger for him.
It's for a shoemaker, for a respectable shoemaker, that's very triggering.
So that was his first response was, look at the shoe. And so he does that, and then assuming he comes out of it and realizes, I've been taken. I remember what's happened now.
You've stolen something from me. You've taken my gold. Fights back, and he's getting beat the shit out of. He's getting shot in the face, getting burned. And
he's just I just want my gold so I can go home. Money.
He just wants his reparations. He just wants his reparations. This man's been through it, and he's getting pulled over. He's getting attacked by teenagers, by elementary school children. He's getting mistaken for children, which I can believe would be a blow to anybody's ego.
Well, but he also pretended to be little children.
He mimics children, but he wasn't in that moment.
Yeah, that's true.
He fully hijacked a car from a pawn shop and is speeding down this road, and then is mistaken for a kid in a mask. It's got to be a blow to your pride.
But now, before we go too far down the road of him being the complete victim of the movie, he does take said little trike vehicle and turn it into a Mad Max. You said
Fury Road.
That was funny. You said Fury Road. I said Thunderdome, which just again shows the
difference
into a Mad Max vehicle that has the ability to flip the truck that these people are in.
He's taking his power back. And in doing that, which I love it because we never see him construct this vehicle. They're just like, we see him, I think this is after he's done the Little Tyke vehicle. This is pre-roller skate incident. And he's like just popped out of the Lep in the Hood chewing on the little wires. And he just like runs to the barn. Like they burn him and he's like, oh, I've got that car. And so runs to the barn and just out comes this behemoth of a vehicle that I don't even know where he found the time to make this car.
No, like we didn't get the scene of him with like a welder's mask and like him like, doing anything.
I don't know if the magic finger worked on this vehicle.
Maybe he had enough to...
Because it's so souped up. I don't even feel like he goes in the truck that quickly. But it topples the truck over. Like flip. Like takes out this truck. Takes it out. He's taking his power back by creating this Mad Max Fury Road vehicle. Thunderdome. I never would have thought of the Thunderdome.
That was well before you were born, so of course you would.
But talking about stealing the Little Tyke's car, we still have not talked about the first and only, to my knowledge, pogo stick kill of the pawn shop.
The first cinematic kill by pogo stick.
Death by pogo. Hit to the chest plate.
And I know he had to have had an amazing one-liner before he pogoed that poor man's chest in. I wish I knew it, but just amazing. Just
incredible, because there's so many things in that pawn shop that he could have grabbed. I mean, I remember the first time we watched it being like, yeah, what's he gonna get? Like, there's so much in his pawn shop. The last thing I expected was to watch this leprechaun grab a pogo stick and hop all over this guy's body. Just bounce. And he looks so jolly doing it. Like, there's shots of his face. And he's so happy to be... I mean, after 10 years of captivity. And now he's out on a pogo stick. Probably for the first time.
It's like recess for him at that point. Like, he's gotten out of captivity. Like, now it's playtime. Like,
now it's party time for the Lep. Like, it's the weekend. And he's pogo sticking this man to death. This poor guy, who, again, had stolen this man's gold.
He didn't actually steal it, which...
Well, but as far as the Lep's concerned...
He's an actual victim, though, right? Like, these people, Alex and Ozzy, roll up and go, hey, here's some gold. He has no idea that it's...
He's a casualty. Poor guy.
Yeah, a little...
But as far as the Lep is concerned, I've been taken. You're one of the people that have gotten their grubby little hands on my stash. You've got to go.
You have me gold.
He's fair. He's not going to let them go and then do nothing. Well, actually, he was totally going to kill him and let them go when they gave back his gold. Take it back. He's not fair at all.
Pogo sticking is very exhausting. So I think at that point, he was just like, my legs hurt. My arms hurt.
After roller skating, building a Thunderdome vehicle, pogo sticking a man to death, like...
Assuming
what more can a guy do?
That car. Like
Listen, after hauling O'Grady's body down the hall, up into the elevator tiles, getting the wig on and the whole fit to be Daniel O'Grady, getting ready to do that voice, like...
Skateboarding. We haven't talked about. He was also skateboarding.
But was he laying down the whole time that he was skateboarding?
I don't think he was laying down the whole time, but he was posing.
And can we call it skateboarding? He was perched at the end of a hallway, which I love it. It's like it was a runway or something. They all are chasing him.
That's exactly what it was.
Absolutely. They chase him through this house only to stop and like completely cease to pursue him as he goes back and forth in this skateboard. And we just see him on a different pose every time he comes back into frame. Like a little model pose.
They just needed to play some like runway music.
Come on, girl. Put the bass in your walk. This little WarwickDavis like strutting it on this skateboard.
Favorite one was him laying down. Like,
laid out on the side, like classic.
Sexy, draw me like one of your French girls moment.
Very Titanic Lep moment. Yeah. Laying on that skateboard. And none of them do anything. It's like they're transfixed by just the beauty of it.
I think you would have to be. Like,
how could you not be in awe of that?
even if you're not in awe, you're just going to be like,
what's going on?
Like, what is he going to do?
When's the magic finger going to do something? Yeah. What's going on?
When is the magic finger going to do something?
Well, at this point, he's popped out of fridges. He's hidden in cabinets. He's popped out of the floors. So him just, sort of peekabooing it on the skateboard had to throw him for a loop.
Confusing them.
That was the power in that move. So that after, way after this forest chase scene he has with this police officer, we have a chase scene again through the forest, this time between the Leprechaun and Tori, where she finds this police car and thinks that she's going to go get help, and, poor guy's dead in the car. So she sits there, Leprechaun finds her, they have this attack, and we have the first of quite a few stabs to the Leprechaun eye. It just stabs his eye clean out. I'm not sure how she manages, but his eye comes out of his body.
the nightstick? Is that what she uses?
It is the nightstick, isn't it?
I think so.
Then wouldn't his eyeball just go to the back of his skull? I don't know anatomy.
When we definitely don't know leprechaun anatomy. So.
I can't tell you how a leprechaun eyeball works, but I know it's
coming
gone.
up with the part after this, it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't. And so we see, after this poor cop has been antagonized, terrorized through the woods, finger clawed to the face, neck cracked, then the leprechaun pops one of this dude's eyeballs out to replace his own.
One of the first, and I can't remember if he replaces his eye in the other ones, but this was definitely the first stab of the eye. It is because there is one where he sucks a guy's eye out, right?
Oh God. There?
I think.
I'm not remembering that.
Maybe not.
Maybe I blacked that out.
Some other horror movie I've seen.
Where an eyeball gets sucked out. Now that you're saying it makes sense a little bit. I feel like I remember that. But no, this is the first, because the leprechaun has a lot of eye injuries.
Yeah.
His eyeball goes through a lot.
I feel like he just goes eyes first into a battle. And that's why it's just...
They're obviously a focal point for people when in a conflict, because every time they go for his eye, and it's no problem. Again, man gets shot, fine. People figured out that popping the lep's eye out deters him a little bit.
Give you a quick 5 minutes.
It at least gives you at least know you have enough time for him to go find another eyeball, grab it out of somebody's skull, and replace his own. That will somehow look exactly like his other eyeball.
It's amazing.
It's that magic. Somehow he can find anybody else's eyeball and make it match his.
It's Leprechaun. He just goes... Bzz, bzz.
That magic finger can make eyeballs match.
Yeah.
Among many other things that they could do.
Okay, and so, talking about the eye, that was definitely kind of like a kick a man when he's down kind of scenario, right? And there's another one. So after Alex gets his leg chomped on
it's Nathan. Nathan does bear trap to the leg. Alex is the little one.
Okay. So yeah, then Nathan gets his leg, bear trapped. So that's, hurt. Towards the end of the movie, running out of the barn, Leprechaun does another just kick him when he's down, runs right by Nathan, is like, how's the leg? Boom! And just kicks him right in the leg, which is just an amazing part of the movie. I think that was another pause and rewind. Did he just...
You had to rewatch that part. It's so funny. His little... sweeps the leg. Yeah. And it's already watched that. Because they fought after he got bear trapped. So the lep knows what this guy's leg has been through.
He's been studying his weaknesses at this point.
I don't know what. There's something so funny about the idea that Leprechaun remembers that and is thinking about it. Yeah. He remembers which leg is gonna like they're friends or something. And how's that leg?
Throwing some shade.
Got read for filth by the leprechaun. After this beautiful sweep the leg, poor Nathan's leg gets swept in the final battle against him. They've done this whole movie. Tori had gone through this painstaking process of finding this clover in this little glowing patch of grass.
Which I think God showed her because it was like a...
Yeah, it's like, because I remember she talks to O'Grady, who tells her that. He's like, you need to look in the glowing patch by the well. And it's like, oh, so there's been a glowing patch of grass for this entire movie that's no one's picked up on.
No one noticed.
Or Ozzy, who apparently has all this leprechaun knowledge, never went outside and went like crawling through this glowing grass. Finally, Tori has like found this 4-leaf clover. They're in this little final battle. And Alex has...
Which is his kryptonite, by the way.
The one thing that can kill this guy, not getting shot, no eyeball hits, no nothing, is a 4-leaf clover slingshot hit to the face. Daniel and Goliath style.
I think actually down the gullet, right? Like, doesn't it go in his mouth?
Now that you say that, I do think it shoots right to the back of his throat. That is sick. Like, that's so mortifying for the leprechaun.
It's like, give me my glory.
That's horrible. And we get our only F-bomb of the film.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, what is he saying? It's
F you, Lucky Charms.
That's it.
I don't know why I feel nervous about saying the F word, but I do. We get F you, Lucky Charms, which is important because we get a callback to that later on in the remake.
And then which I call full-on Gremlins at, like, end of Gremlins, Spike, like, melting down. This is exactly what the leprechaun
Green
did.
goo goes to
Pussy.
skeleton.
Like skeleton.
It's so gross. I don't know why the way you said it just grossed me out. He gets full goop city and then falls back into this well. And even though they just saw him disintegrate, they then pour the most gasoline ever down this well that I'm assuming supplies water for this house.
One would think.
They pour so much. It blows.
Which we know does
up.
when we get to a later movie. So yes,
you're right. We know that this whole explosion, they blow up this well, which causes long-term issues. But
I guess he's not going to stop and be like, we're probably going to want to shower later, right?
They're not concerned about whether or not they're going to be able to flush their toilets.
Although there is a goopy leprechaun down on the well at this point, so they probably don't care.
It's true. I can only imagine the effect that has on a septic system.
Yeah.
But he's killed through this leprechaun slingshot battle, and then he announces at the end of this movie that he's going to be stuck down here in this well until somebody breaks the spell. This final rhyme.
And then I think it goes to credits at that point. Like, there's no like wrap up. There's no.
We don't see Tori and Nathan 10 years down the line with a blushing baby boy
or girl.
Oh well, blushing baby boy just rolls off the tongue. I was gonna say girl. Little baby boy. We don't see Ozzy. Well, at this point. We don't see Alex 20 years later as an adult finally seeking the help and attention that he deserved throughout his childhood that he never received. Because I'm assuming...
Working through the trauma.
Working through that PTSD. We
doing
can only
the
imagine.
work.
Doing what needs to be done. And throughout this whole film, Ozzy never has to give up that gold in his stomach.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, he doesn't.
I really thought when we first watched this movie that there was going to be like a cutting his stomach open or something, which I guess in reality he would just like poop it out.
As we were talking about this, I was thinking about
like
that.
He definitely would poop this gold out.
Because wait. Okay, never.
He swallows it.
Yeah. Later on down the line, is it still there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's no way it would just still
Let it be
there.
said. But because I know we don't want to go talking about the remake already, but he definitely should be pooping this gold out at some point in the near future.
Yeah. I would be trying to.
Right? Like, I would think, you can take Miralax.
Just cover all bases.
Just go ahead. Like, you could find Miralax at any drugstore, even in that Podunk, North Dakota town. And I'm pretty sure within 48 hours, you'd have the gold out.
I'd have it out in shorter than
You'd
that.
assume. You could get that stuff you have to take before like a colonoscopy or something.
That charcoaly.
Yeah. Drink that little poop smoothie that makes you go to the bathroom, then you'd be fine, I think.
And we know Alex will be there for him. I mean, like...
At this rate, Alex will be in the bathroom holding his hand, talking him through it.
Yep.
God bless this 10-year-old. Can't get a break. No, I didn't think about that. He should be pooping this gold out. No, he does not. And the gold stays in his stomach for what, 20 years?
Yeah.
I think it's like, more than that.
At least 20 years.
She does have a blushing baby girl.
That's why I said it.
I didn't realize that.
Spoiler alert.
Sorry, spoiler.
For Leprechaun
This whole
Reborn.
episode is spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Leprechaun 2 is the next movie in the series, but Leprechaun Returns is the only direct sequel to Leprechaun 1. So I think it makes sense for us to go a little bit out of order here and then talk about Leprechaun Returns next.
I can agree with that. It did come out in 2018 versus Leprechaun 2, but I think in order to discuss all the callbacks, I think that would make sense. Then let us tally not.
Let us tally not.
I love that movie. Yeah. So in Leprechaun Returns, we are back in North Dakota to the same OG house from the first movie, but this time we're following Tori's daughter, Lila Redding, who has no idea that she's going to the house that her mother lived in for a short time and was traumatized by a leprechaun in, but
no clue.
Has just happened to return to by joining this college group of girls who are making this off-grid house situation in the middle of North Dakota in this very ugly house.
If you're going to do an off-grid, it's going to be in North Dakota, though.
So. I guess. I think it's a strange spot to pick. So we've got some reoccurring characters. We've got Ozzy back. We've got Tori. We've got mentions of Tori. We know she's dead at this point. We have some sort of... We hear Tori, but we don't hear Jennifer Aniston. We hear someone.
And a facsimile of Tori.
We hear something like Tori, and we have the leprechaun back in his comfort zone, causing some more problems for people.
Shenanigans, as we like to say.
Shenanigans. I love this movie. I think is a sequel that's revisiting after, 3 decades? They do a really good job. I hate that we didn't have Jennifer Aniston back, or maybe sort of like the actors for Nathan and Alex, but I think that Ozzy is great in this movie. I like him even more in this movie than I did in Leprechaun 1. I think that Lila does a great job. I think that, God bless her, she's given some dialogue that make her an insufferable person to be around sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Really. I feel bad for Lila because I don't know that I'd want to sit and have a conversation with her.
But that's most of the, I think, we'll
main
call them
characters
kids in the movie or whatever. But, yeah, I think I remember just thinking, like, I would not want to be friends with any of these kids.
With any of these people.
Yeah. But I'm with you, though. I remember thinking I love that they brought Ozzy back. Like, I think he's kind of like the perfect character to do that. And it's probably because he's so innocent and stuff like that. Like, he's an easy character to feel for and stuff like that and to bring back. But it would have been cooler, like you said, if they had the other 2 guys that paint.
The other 2 guys of that trio. And not only that, I love the leprechaun in this movie because as you get further on into the franchise, there are certain quintessential leprechaun things that I think got lost, whether it was the rhyming, his sort of jovial personality, the makeup changes a lot throughout the franchise, and I think what they did with the leprechaun in this movie feels very true to the original. He's once again consistent in his one-liners. He's got this like fun, whimsical vibe to him again that's really nice and entertaining. I think they did he's great in this movie.
Yeah, I agree, and I think everyone agrees that Warwick, there is no like topping Warwick. Like he
There
is
is
the
no
leprechaun. Like
even with Warwick.
But if, and God willing, I think I've heard that he just stopped doing it because he because of his children. He's like, once my kids get old enough, then that's an option. But I'm hoping, right, that he's going to come back and do it. But I think Lyndon did a really, really good job. I think as good of a job as you could do filling in for Warwick, and was a welcome change from the one before it, Origins, which we won't get into that. But
it's questionable whether or not Origins is even a Leprechaun movie.
Yeah.
But it definitely, I mean, they might have been just so nervous about being compared to Warwick that they couldn't even. Which I get, because Warwick makes the Leprechaun work. I think that entire character is only as fabulous as it is because of Warwick. He just made it this iconic character. But I could see how that could be intimidating for somebody else to try and fill that role. But I think that the Leprechaun is once again fabulous in this movie.
Yeah.
He's great.
And I think that obviously props to Lyndon too, but I think some of that is, or a lot of it is the writing too, because I think they actually did capture the character well too. Like the Leprechaun, like I can't remember if it was before Origins, that was the second Lep in the Hood, right? And I don't think he rhymed in that one.
No.
So it was like we've got these last two movies where some of that was kind of taken away. It changed a little bit. And so it was a cool kind of like return to character where he's rhyming again. He's got this more, because Lep in the Hood 2, he was darker, like, and not to get too much into that one, but they turned him a little more dark and stuff like that, which was really cool. But it was just cool to him coming back to him, like return to form. Like this is like the fun, sinister, like, Leprechaun, right?
It gets kind of heavy in the hood.
Yeah.
When it comes to Leprechaun. Stuff gets it gets a lot more emotionally traumatizing in that movie. And so I think it was really nice to have just another sort of lighthearted trickster moment with the Lep.
More like the first 3 or 4.
Yeah. Although I would say that it's great, Lep is fabulous. I think the kills in this movie are even more fun than the kills in the original first film.
Yeah, I wouldn't say more fun, but maybe a little more creative, a little more...
Aside from the pogo kill, which is iconic and number one always, I think when we think about the sprinkler death, where she's got full, like her head becomes the blood sprinkler... We have Where the Red Fern Grows with a golden, with the little handheld trowel. We've got Solar Panel Slice in Half.
You can't beat the nice like cutting somebody in half. I mean that's just, you can't beat
clean
that,
vertical slice. There's no beating it.
With a super thick solar panel that would then not squish the person at all, but just slice them neatly down the middle.
Seamless slice down the middle.
Very sharp.
Through skull, bone, blood, organ, everything.
Just.
It's great. Because I love the kills. And I don't know if it's just because I know Sci-Fi did this movie, and we've been watching the Chucky series from Sci-Fi as well.
Yeah.
Sci-Fi just does those kind of silly, fun, over-the-top kills really well, I think. Yeah. And so I love that they brought that into the Leprechaun, because this is the perfect movie to do that with, I think.
It's on brand.
It's very on brand for the Lep to have fun. We've got the drone kill, which is great.
Yeah. And him, I mean, even just the kill, like, I remember when the trailer came out for it and seeing the Leprechaun on a drone flying around, and I was just like, okay, that's a cool way to like modernize the Lep, right? And him just flying around on a drone, I was like, yeah, that's cool. But then, of course, cutting the guy's head off when he had like 5 minutes to run away from it, but he just stood in front of the tree and just watched it come.
There is nothing on either side of this man. He's in an open forest,
not tied down,
simply with his back to a tree. and makes full eye contact with this drone for what feels like 35 minutes and doesn't make a single effort to move away. Like, sits there waiting for it to happen, it feels
so
like.
much eye contact, it felt sensual a little bit.
It felt romantic. There was something going on between him and the drone. Well, he was, I know, like, when we were watching it, and this happens a lot when we watch these 80s movies, where we don't remember the people's names, so they just get, like, a nickname. And I know he was Film Boy.
Yep.
Because that was
Film
his
Boy.
thing. And so I would believe that there would be some kind of strange, like, sexual tension for him between him and his, like, digital instruments.
Or he's just like, what kind of camera is that? Is that a 4K? Is that a...
Do we think this is a nice shot of me?
Yeah.
Like,
Am I in frame? Am I...
Ozzy, which I know I just talked about. I already, my heart was softened for Ozzy the second time watching the first movie, because I went from thinking he was a bizarre 30-year-old to being this, okay, Ozzy's kind of cool.
You can just say you hated Ozzy.
I was a full Ozzy hater. Now I'm an Ozzy stan. And after this movie, he's even more sympathetic of a character, especially in zombie form. Although, I mean, we have to talk about Ozzy dying.
Yep.
Beloved Ozzy.
Don't want to get ahead of ourselves here.
No.
Yeah, so he so he drops off
he finds Lila at this gas station.
All I could think was Tori. And
I know.
It's just stuck in my head. Like,
I keep almost calling her Tori.
Dropped off Tori's spawn.
Dropped off Tori's kin.
As
he now has his own small business. Ozzy's, is it paint and taxi service?
Yeah, paint and taxi, or taxi
and paint service.
Yeah,
which is
like,
an odd combo.
Yeah. One guy painting.
Yeah, one guy that paints.
Yeah.
Like, and so he brings her back, and he leaves his phone at the house. As one does. So he has to go back. And somehow, after decades, he has not pooped out this coin. The coin is still in his stomach.
Bless him.
I know.
Like,
how backed up is Ozzy that we're going on decades and this coin is still in his system?
Yeah, how has that not caused some kind of damage?
I feel like if it's small enough to swallow, it's small enough to poop.
I would hope.
I would think that we were not designed in any way to make that conflicting.
Yeah.
But, and this coin in his stomach seemingly summons the Lep out of this well.
Yeah, I didn't actually think about it that way when we watched it, but I guess that's probably what it is, because he did it. Nothing happened until he started walking up on the well, why he was going towards the well in the first place when all that happened.
Because I know they heard him, like, there's sort of, you can hear him talking from the well, but these girls had been there for months by the time, and Lep's has not interfered even a little bit with their activity in making this house eco-friendly. And even when Lila shows up, I think he talks a little bit, but it's not until Ozzy hears once again he's being lured by the Lep, which at this point, this has already happened. So you'd think you'd learn. Poor Ozzy goes right back to this well and then shoots like green Lep water into his mouth. Sick.
Of course, Ozzy, mouth hanging open, just right in.
I mean, were you raised in a barn, Ozzy? Like, this stuff that he's now consuming. And then we get wonderful, like, was like a papoose where people hold their baby.
Yeah.
And we get, like, 2 legs, 2 arms pop out of Ozzy's stomach.
I'm going to bring this up. I mentioned this probably today, and then I realized you don't know what it is, but, like, he, like, Quato'd him. Like, he was, like, coming out of his...
Quato?
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Girl.
It's another movie we need to watch.
Quato?
Yeah. But, yeah, so he full-on comes out, busts out of the stomach. Mm-hmm. Oh, but before, and it took us a while, I don't know if it was like hours later, before he actually busts out of his stomach, we see Ozzy throw up a 4-leaf clover. And later on, we were both like, why did he throw up a 4-leaf clover? Like, why was that a thing? Was he eating them to try to, like, And it was
It's been part of his prep. Like,
yeah, I was like, oh, it's because the 4-leaf clover
was
killed
shot
the leprechaun
down Lep's
and
throat.
So that came over in the water, and that's, yeah.
So now he's... Yeah, because I fully sat there thinking, I don't know what Ozzy was preparing for by eating 4-leaf clovers.
Yeah, he's prepping.
He was
does he do
ready.
That every day? Like,
how often is that? Does he not chew them at all? Like, he's swallowing them whole?
That's like his cilantro, like on his plate or something, you know? Just clover.
Just clovers.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because we find early in the film, and then we hear, it sort of matters later on, that there's a whole bunch of clovers around this house because the girls have this kind of significant supply of clover water. Which it makes me wonder, like, is it
significant.
Any clover going to hurt the leprechaun? Or, if it has to be a 4-leaf clover, did they just happen to get a 4-leaf clover luckily in their clover water?
Great point.
Because they have a lot of clover water.
Yeah, because it's not just any old clover.
No, it's got to be a 4-leafed.
So, yeah.
A clover of the 4-leafed variation.
But I guess if you're just, like, not mining.
Mass producing.
Yeah, like farming clover, I guess, for water, then you've got to get some 4-leaf. Gotta get some 4-leaf clover.
Can I get a 4-leaf clover?
So that's got to be it. Yeah,
odds are you'll get one 4-leaf clover out of the 50 regular clovers you're harvesting for your water.
I would say more than 50. You're making water out of it, I would think.
Probably. Which we're introduced to a new rule in this movie, which maybe they talk about in the first film, but that the reason the leprechaun wasn't, finished in the first film was because you can't leave any piece of the leprechaun behind.
Yeah.
This is a new rule. This is the first time we've heard this. You can't leave a piece of it behind, girl.
Yeah, they haven't talked about any of that.
No.
I mean, I was thinking, because I was thinking about the Lep and the Hoods, and like they put them in concrete and stuff like that. So, yeah, they've never talked about
I don't think we're told directly that you can't leave a piece of the Lep behind in any of the other films. But we know that, and then we see the reasoning for that when do they just does the leprechaun explode? So they put this hose of clover water into the leprechaun, and he blows up, which is fabulous. I mean, it's disgusting, but we love it. And because they've not destroyed the Lep yet, all these little blown up pieces turn into little baby leprechauns. Little babies. Little mini leps. Little babies. And then these little tiny baby leprechauns terrorize Rose. I mean, all the girls, but they go hard on Rose.
Which, and Amy hasn't seen this, but we were talking about it before we started filming, and she hasn't seen it. And we mentioned that, and she was like, oh my God, I have to watch this movie now.
It's the only thing, before we rewatched them, it's the one thing I remembered from the first time we watched this movie. Were all the little baby leprechauns jumping off of things and grabbing onto Rose.
Which there's tons of those things in other movies, but is this a callback to Evil Dead 2?
I'd like to say it. It's 2. Or is that Army of Darkness?
Army of Darkness.
I'm feeling like it's Army of Darkness.
Army of Darkness. Yep.
That's a total Evil Dead callback. With a little baby Ash.
Because the baby Ash goes in his mouth. That's when he gets 2 heads. He splits into 2.
Great.
And then that's Army of Darkness. Yep.
Oh, I mean, we've got little baby Leps. This has never happened before.
Nope.
Not yet. We have not yet seen a little baby miniature leprechaun.
A Lep team.
Oh, a little Lep ensemble.
Ensemble.
And the mini Leps aren't just adorable. They are lethal because they are the ones that trip Rose full on into the little handheld shovel moment.
Rose turns into Shovel Face.
She does. God bless her. Poor thing. And she loved that thing too. They make a point to tell us.
It's gardening. a shovel takes out a rose. I mean, it makes total sense.
Look at this. Look at Leprechaun getting metaphorical.
This works on so many levels.
Does
It's like an onion, and the more you peel it back, you just...
It's like Shrek. This movie, it's like any old ogre.
Like any old
Ogres
ogre.
have layers. Like onions. When's the last time you saw Shrek?
Since you were like that tall.
That's
It's
devastating.
like 2 years ago, I think.
Oh my god. So rude. It's so rude. Back before you were collecting Social Security. Is that what you mean?
I guess that's true. Before my hip surgery.
Before your first knee got replaced.
Yeah.
So Ozzy dies, but then we have a fabulous, like, not only does Leprechaun return, but Ozzy returns as zombie Ozzy with all his, like, intestines hanging out.
Yeah, where the lip.
God, gross. Like, chest burster style,
Yeah.
almost.
He was a belly burster.
Ow, that's even grosser. Because he kind of ominously tells Lila, who, poor thing, her mom was crazy, was talking about leprechauns all the time before she passes on.
Or she thought was crazy.
She thinks
That's
her
the
mom's
thing, yeah.
nuts, talks about leprechauns and stuff. Then she gets to this town to start a new life, and she meets this weird guy who's like, if anything goes wrong in that house, go look in the basement. Which is creepy.
I remember when we were watching that too, it was like, go look in the basement. I'm like, well, the first one, that's where they found the leprechaun.
That
So it's
seems like the
that seems
last
the most
thing.
dangerous thing to do is go in the basement.
The warning should be,
Yeah.
don't go in the basement, Lila.
Although we know he's in the
But-
well, but yeah,
Still, that's where it all started.
you never go in the basement.
Never. But later on in the film, poor Lila, this drunk friend Meredith, locks her in this basement where she reunites with zombie Ozzy, who can't speak for some reason.
That seemed odd. I don't know, because it seems kind of like a ghost at 1st.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm pretty sure like she helps him wrap his stomach up with cellophane.
She does. I forgot about that. It's like saran wraps so his guts aren't falling out.
Yeah, and I was like, so he's not
Gag?
a ghost. So maybe the leprechaun took out his voice box?
Maybe. Like that
When he
weird
belly
well
bursted?
water. Ugh. Because he has to, like, charades style explain to her what's going on. Even though at the end of it, all he ends up doing is showing her where to find this map to get the leprechaun's gold. Which has, I believe, written instructions on it about what to do. So I'm like, why didn't you just walk her straight there? Why do we even have this gestures game
Yeah.
of this is what happened 30 years ago? Like, you could have just held her hand, walked her there. Yeah.
It's right there.
But they could have just, or you could have walked the box over.
But I really liked the zombie Ozzy. I think that was a really cool part of the movie, and I liked his character before, but I really liked him because he was very empathetic and like it was like a cool part of it. You kind of felt for him and stuff like that. I thought that was really cool too. Complete opposite of that, because we're talking about her being locked in the basement. I said before, would hate to have friends like them.
Terrible
They are
friends.
just terrible.
Terrible.
Because like one of the first kind of like scenes, I think the party girl comes in and is like, oh, let's not do anything else. Let's just have some pizza and drink. And this is when the guys show up, the two guys.
That are well into their 30s.
Yeah, they've got a second mortgage. They're
These
like,
college boyfriends.
yeah, they're looking at life insurance at this point. And their first kind of like group moment, we're like, okay, let's all bond. She mentioned something about her. This is where you kind of learn that she thought her mom was crazy and, stuff like, which she wasn't. But like, so there was some things there's some issues, and one of the girls, I can't remember which one, was like, maybe you shouldn't talk about your mom so much. This is like depressing.
It's like the first time she ever mentions her mom.
Yeah. And it's like for 2 seconds.
It's very quick. And if anything, it to me seems like a typical way that someone who has gone through something so traumatizing would bring it up, and this almost sort of lighthearted, trying to make a joke out of it way. And they're just, like, their immediate reaction is like, Debbie Downer. Yeah. Way to be a party pooper,
like,
Lila.
Talking. Yeah, I can't wait to lock you in the basement.
Seriously, like, they're so quick to be like, can you not talk about your dead mom? Like, she's done it once, like maybe twice at this point.
Yeah.
And you give the girl a break. She just got here. I mean, poor Lila.
She's going through it.
She is. And meanwhile, she's having these visions. Like, before she sees Ozzy, she's seeing dead Ozzy in her dreams. Like, she's having these horrible visions. Then people are dissing her for bringing up her dead mom one time. Like, you talk about your mom dying one time at a pizza party, and suddenly
like,
you're the worst friend ever. Like, suddenly you're not deserving of empathy.
Talk about mom.
Seriously. I do love that we also have the return of, like, rational Leprechaun, where, like, we have the initial, like, Tori and Leprechaun conversation of, like, I'll give you your gold back. Okay, thank you, bye. Disappears. Then once again, we find, Lila goes back into her room, like, I think this is after the pizza party dead mom kerfuffle. And Lep's just sitting in her room. Like, he's messed with her panda bear, but, like, other than that, he's just chilling.
Just hanging out.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, I know your mom. I know you're Tori's kid. I can see it in your face. Which, how?
He is the only one that could see that was Tori's kid.
The only one who saw that J.A. resemblance. But he's just chilling, and they just have a conversation for a minute in her room. Just calmly talking. This is a leprechaun. This is Pogo Stick Killer, Solar Panel Slicer, and he's just sitting in her room chatting.
Just, what's going on? Let's rap.
I haven't talked to... It's been so long since I've seen Tori. How is she?
I've been stuck in a well for a while.
It's good to get his bearings about him. Although we do have this fabulous, like, she knocks his head off, like, moment where it's just, like, green goo oozing out of his neck and then just, like, pops back on.
He just does a Pez dispenser moment right back on.
It is very Pez dispenser. We also have return of the little shoemaker energy, which is once again prominent. Because we see him, like, revert back to the cat meowing, which we hadn't seen in a while. Pulls that card back out, kills a mailman, shines his shoes. That's quintessential Lep.
He loves a good shoe. Like, it's just... Yeah. He may leprechaun for a job, but I think his passion is shoes. I think that's what it is. Like, he kills people because that's what he's good at. But his passion is shoes.
If he could make a living off of it, he'd shine shoes. If it paid the bills and took care of business.
He would. That's what he'd be in a subway just...
So we once again have this whole issue because Abish has stolen some pieces of the gold from this pot. Like, we go through this whole journey of, I've talked to Zombie Ozzy. I have this map. I've escaped from being locked in this basement. I've reunited with my girls, except I think it's just Rose and who we've coined Faceplant. Katie, I believe. And, like, we're going to find this gold. Just for Rose to tell them, oh yeah, I've seen this gold and I've been using it. How do you think the house looks this good, girl? How do you think I have that ninja blender for the clova water, girl? It's from this
How do you think
gold.
we're getting water to the house?
Yeah, girl, I know this gold. I've seen it. It's gone. There's no getting it back.
There is no getting this gold back.
No. So they have no choice but to kill the man. Is they can't give him back his gold.
There's nothing else to do at this point.
Which they have the brilliant strategy of distracting the leprechaun about this gold. Do you remember this strategy?
This is filling the...
It's menstrual route?
Yep. Using a bowl of tampons.
They fill the pot with... Because when they roll up to the... Like, Lila meets him again with the pot of gold. I remember sitting there like, oh, interesting. Just for him, we got... and it's one of my favorite things we see him do. would just sit on the floor and count his gold. I love it. It reminds me of like Easter Sunday when you like you've just done your Easter egg hunt and then you all sit on the floor to like count how many eggs you've gotten to see who wins. Yeah. It's like he's counting his Easter eggs just to find that underneath these like 7 shillings of gold is a pot of tampons.
Yeah, and it's not like the first one where he's up to like 98, 99. Mm-hmm. He's like 32.
It's like, okay. It is. He can barely get to the double digits, I feel like, before he's spent with tampons. And I don't know if maybe I'm not a very eco-friendly girl when it comes to my menstrual products. I don't know if you are.
I just go with what's on sale.
But I feel like I remember these tampons being unwrapped.
Yeah, I think you.
Which, when I buy my Tampax Pearl, they've got plastic covering, which is very loud in the bathroom show, but I know the plastic is there. So it's like, do they just have like these eco-friendly, or did they unwrap all these tampons?
I have to imagine it's the eco-friendly. Like, this group of girls feels like they're the...
But they look like a Tampax Pearl.
Yeah. That's true.
Were they like, if they're not unwrapped, are people going to know what they are?
Yeah. They're either pearls or they're Diva cups. So I would think...
No hate, but...
But yeah, so... yeah, that's a good point. Maybe they did take the time.
Very not hygienic.
No. Forget
reusing those tampons. And that's a lot. Tampons run for quite a bit if you're getting like a super. And you've just unwrapped so many. Like, why is that what you picked? You could have put paper towels.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I know tampons are not the same weight as a gold coin.
Yeah, fill it with dirt.
Yeah, why'd you go unwrap all your tampons and put it in the pot?
Yeah, because after everything was done, they're not like, oh, grab those before we leave. Like, we don't want to leave those.
Before we leave, those are all my Super Plus. Like, yeah. Can you get those out of the pot?
We went hard on the tampon talk there.
Our menstrual conversation's going to make people uncomfortable. But it's a very strange moment. I love that scene.
Poignant. Going back to, what's her name? Katie? We're talking about some of the kills and stuff like that, which we've lovingly called faceplant now, and I think she's always going to be faceplant at this point, because goes into, I guess this goes along with the glorious falls in the Leprechaun series, where her bow has been sliced in half, or should I say her lover? We'll go with that.
Ew, that is so gross. Ugh, that lover. They're in a situationship, and nothing more, nothing less.
There we go. Okay, we'll go with that. Has been cut in half, and this is after. Is it when the small the mini leprechauns have happened, and she goes running out of the house? I think
this is either after or right before. It's around mini lep territory, and
somehow face plants into her boyfriend's body, I believe, and then somehow can't get up.
Yeah,
and is just rolling around with the body and just
scrambling on the ground.
And it was like, what?
What are you doing?
How is this a thing?
Like, get up, girl. What are you doing?
This can't be that hard.
No. Poor thing was just so taken aback by her little boy toy being sliced vertically in half, and she couldn't handle it.
Yeah, she
couldn't get her bearings.
She was struggling as much as Drunky, I think, most of the movie. As much as
Drunky.
Yeah.
Drunky, who becomes the blood sprinkler. Whose immediate reaction to seeing the leprechaun, I believe he's sitting on the kitchen counter, is to take selfies with him.
Just like it's nothing.
Even if you're drunk, I'm pretty sure that's still a bizarre reaction to the leprechaun sitting on your kitchen counter.
I've never been that drunk. Where you're like, leprechaun makes sense. Or I'm just seeing this because I'm so drunk.
Yeah.
No.
I'm not sure if alcohol causes hallucinations. Maybe I'm not drinking the right way. But never have I imagined a leprechaun and then gone, I'll take a picture with it.
And that just shows how, and maybe that's why they did it, just how of a horrible person she is.
Yeah.
That her first thought is, I'm going to take a selfie.
Yeah.
Like, just, of course.
Of course is what she wants. I mean, I think I asked the question 800 times watching the film, which was just, why are these bitches taking so many pictures? So many pictures are taken in this movie.
I think you're old enough now that you're seeing younger people being like, what are they doing? Like, why are you taking so many pictures?
They're older than me.
That's not music. My music's music.
I think when this movie came out in 2018, I was 16, and these girls were in college.
Yeah.
Speaking of music, Lep has a little bit of music taste. He takes over their tunes in this movie.
Yeah.
Which they like kind of go, what is that song? But then never pay attention to the fact that stuff's getting played that is not on their playlist.
Again, just nobody cares.
I guess they're too drunk to care that Lep magic is taking over.
I feel like he could have came in and danced and they would have just not cared.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Speaking of how these youngins, right, are
youngins
just have the weirdest reactions to things. Rose at some point, like the Lep shenanigans have started, and Rose has, smart move, go run, let's go hide in a closet, as one would do, things are going down.
Best idea.
Runs, gets in the closet. First time she hears a noise, immediately comes out of the closet. I was just like, it defeats the purpose of what you just did.
Why were you hiding?
Like, what were you doing in the closet?
Were you just hoping for a quick change? Like,
yeah.
Why'd you get in there?
Were you looking for shoes? Like, yeah.
Which the Lep then does, once she walks out of this closet, he goes and picks up shoes that have fallen out of this closet and makes fun of Crocs. Lep's coming in with opinions.
As you should.
I wear Crocs around the house. I'm not so much of a Croc hater.
I do not like Crocs. I have had Crocs. They are functional when doing certain things, but
wouldn't wear them out.
No, not as a fashion statement.
I think I did when I was younger. I think I had tie-dye Crocs that I would wear out of the house.
You would.
Thank God I didn't run into the leprechaun.
Yeah.
He would have dissed my shoes.
And just killed you.
It would have killed me.
Yeah.
Quickly. Although I would have hidden in a closet and I would have stayed hidden.
Yes, you would have.
I mean, at the very least, I would have stayed in the closet.
I think you're at least smart enough to do that.
Oh, I love the faith that I can hear in your voice when you say that. It's not like I have the leg strength to punt kick him like some of the people in these movies. I mean, I could try, but I'm not sure I could.
You just have to run and tackle him. That's like the...
Yeah, I don't think... Because the Lep takes beatings in some of these movies. I mean, he takes more. I think he gets chunked again in this movie.
Yep.
The man who gets solar sliced, like, runs into the leprechaun while peeing outside, just grabs him and throws him.
He goes through it.
He takes a lot. Like, 100 mini versions of him get, like, squashed. He gets blown up by clover water. And he just comes back every time. And he's never that pissy about it.
It's just another day.
Yeah. He's still out to kill you, but not with any more anger than before.
Yeah. He's like, oh, clover water again. Oh, they're going with the old clover water.
Okay.
There we go.
Shoved a hose in my mouth. Whatever.
Takes a licking, keeps on lepping.
He really does. He's unfazed by all their attempts to kill him. You're never going to get any... Like, he doesn't hold a grudge like that. Not about how you try to kill him, not about the injuries. It's like, whatever.
No, because, again, like, if you catch him at the right moment, and he thinks you have all of his gold, and you're giving him back, he's forgiving.
He's
He'll be
great.
Like, you know what? Okay. Like, bygones be bygones. Let's, like, we both said some things we didn't mean. We both killed some people we didn't mean. Let's just part ways.
Things were done, unfortunately, in the throes of passion, the heat of an argument, but we all know who we are at the end of the day. Let's move on and be
I
friends.
killed 6 of your friends. You blew me up. Let's just...
It is what it is.
It is
Que
what
sera,
it is.
sera. Whatever.
Vis-a-vis the following. Speaking of killing in the Lep, so this movie these guys had knocked off, didn't work. Clover water exploded, turned into a bunch of little mini Leps, didn't work. What finally got him this movie?
So finally at the end, because, this is right following Mini Lep adventure. They realize, crap, yeah, we blew them up, but there were all these little pieces. So all these little baby leprechauns rejoin together, and they turn into normal Lep. Lila distracts him by throwing gold at him, which, classic tactic. Usually they use shoes, but...
So usually it's shoes.
Gold works too. And I believe it's Faceplant that, shoves wires into him. And then boy catches on fire. And not just him, but the entire house catches on fire.
That's right, yeah. Him catching on fire catches the house on fire, which this is an old-ass house. So it was old in the first one.
Yeah. Now we're several decades later.
Yeah. And so it's just just ready. It should have blown up before this at this point.
It should have gone out with a well in the first
Yeah,
movie.
Yeah.
And for some reason, the girls who are there, I can't remember where they're at. I think they're just in the living room. In the middle of the living room where they catch on fire. Their only way to escape out of this burning house is to run down into the basement and go through this little tiny window in the basement.
I can't remember. Was the basement still flooded?
I believe there's still water and stuff in this basement.
Yeah, maybe that's why they were thinking, ooh, I can get wet and get away from the fire.
I guess the water won't catch on fire. We'll get out of here. The clover water flooding the basement will get us out.
We didn't mention too, but another kind of rule that was not in the first one, but was in a subsequent one, when they blow him up with the clover water, in order to do that, they kind of trap him with iron.
They have to place iron all around him. They have to surround him with it.
Yeah, so that's kind of another callback to one of the sequels.
Callback
Wasn't
to
in the
Lep
first
2.
one, but yeah, callback to the other one. So
because I don't think they ever mentioned it again after Leprechaun 2.
Yeah.
But we get it again in Lep Returns.
Yeah.
But that also doesn't kill the leprechaun.
Does not kill them.
Even the house exploding, which we've seen him explode, we know he catches completely on fire. The girls get picked up, Lila and Faceplant at this point get picked up by some people from school. And then we see little crispy Lep, extra well done leprechaun, hitchhiking.
A little leper biscuit.
Leper biscuit hops onto a chicken truck, chucks chickens, picks up the Lep.
So we know he's still alive.
Yeah, we know he's still fine. Still waiting for the next place that Lila's gonna go. Still searching for that gold. Poor guy.
Yeah, so is he getting on the truck to go, he's gonna go to the pawn shop, I guess, where she's selling?
We don't know where he's going. The destination is unclear, but it's the journey for the Lep that matters. He's going somewhere to shine shoes happily. Poor guy's just trying to make it back to Ireland.
You're right. We talked about this. He just wants to go home.
He has been kidnapped. He's been traumatized at the first film. Shot at clover to the uvula and then blown up in a well. Stuck there for a while. Had to crawl out of some dude's stomach. Then people, he gets out and people are taking pictures of him and chunking him and he's riding on drones and he's been through so much. Still doesn't get his gold from any of these people. Because they've all been taking what is not theirs and spending it. And he's left crispy as hell with nowhere to go. He doesn't even have a home. The house is blown up. What is there left for him?
Yeah, because he's this is where he started. Actually, so yeah, he literally has nowhere to go.
This is the only home he's had for...
It's the only home he's ever known.
The only home he's ever known for at least 50 years.
North Dakota, at least.
Well, anywhere over the pond.
That's true.
Poor guy, this is all he's known outside of Ireland. We don't know his life before that. He could have had leprechaun friends. A little lep home in a tree.
He probably did live in it. No, well, I don't know if he's a Keebler elf, but...
Isn't the one leprechaun house in a tree?
Yes, it is. He's in the tree, yeah.
Or at least a little secret entrance is through a tree.
Yeah. Seems like it's in the ground, under the tree, but it's still in the tree.
It's unclear because sometimes they just magically apparate there. I don't want to get too much into that yet.
Yeah.
we don't want to get too far into
what we're apparate because that's Harry Potter.
Oh my bad. Is it not applicable here?
Yeah.
He's in Harry Potter.
You're just bringing it full circle.
I'm just connecting the dots between Warwick's what is that
career?
Yeah, his career. Because what's the word because of music? Is it discography when you're a musician?
Yep.
What is
Filmography.
it? Filmography. That's all I'm doing.
It's filmography.
Filmography. I'm showcasing Warwick's range by bringing up the other films he starred in.
That he was not in this movie.
Oh, my bad. I just want Warwick to be a part of it so
You're
bad.
Just throwing shade at Lyndon.
No, Lyndon's great. He's seriously, no offense to whoever is in Origins, but he's fabulous.
Yeah, I think the Origins episodes is going to be a short one.
Ugh. Origins will be thrown in with the two Lep in the Hoods.
Yep.
Which we love.
We'll
throw that one in.
Yeah.
That movie that they threw a Leprechaun title on.
Yeah.
Makes no damn sense. Leprechaun where?
No damn sense.
Now, we don't want to get too far into Origins because I know we're going to save that for a future episode. Anyways, thank you guys for watching this episode of The Fear Review. We hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be covering the rest of the Leprechaun franchise.
We hope you tune in.